Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another episode of Greyman Operations. Today we're going to be doing the much anticipated review of the Inforce Wild 2. Guys, the firearm's empty and safe, so don't stress about that, will remain so throughout the video. Before I get into this review, into the meat and potatoes, I've got to do some admin. Those of you who follow the channel will know that today I'm giving away a full trauma kit to one of my patrons. That trauma kit's worth a few $1,000s. I'm also going to chuck in a Snake Stop Systems EDC TQ. In July, I'm going to give away one of these a week to my patrons. And get this, at the end of June, at the end of this month, I'm going to give away a free customization job from SA Laser Engraving. So they're the guys who did pretty much all the custom work on my firearm. They do amazing work. They've gotten in contact with me, or I got in contact with them, and I asked what's the possibility of us doing a deal, and they said let's do it. So the Patreon winner at the end of July will be getting a full custom job to his pistol, slide serrations, optic cut, all the fun stuff. But more about it in the coming weeks. If you want to become a patron, it's the first link in the video description. If you're watching on YouTube, if you want to become one and you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, it is the first comment. Let's talk about the Inforce Wild 2. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is output. Being a full-size light, the Inforce Wild 2 does come with the standard 1000 lumens, but where it does excel is in candela. It's got 25,000 candela. That's around 15,000 more than the Surefire X300 and about 5,000 more than your extremely TLR1-HL. The photonic barriers I was able to create, it very easily overcame. I do like the cool white beam. It does make things more disorientative if you are on the receiving end. And overall, I'm very pleased with the output of the Inforce Wild 2. The next thing I want to talk to you about is control. The Inforce Wild 2 comes with two rather large inwardly pressing buttons on either side. A press and hold is momentary on, and a single tap is constant on, which is as per the usual for button pressing weapon mounted lights. I do want to say it takes time to get used to this kind of function. You are pressing the button inwards, i.e. towards the inside of your trigger guard where your trigger is. And generally, as per our defensive and EDC training, we are always very cautious when putting things in that area. So that's definitely something that you do need to be concerned about, and something you do need to manage by training with your Inforce weapon mounted light. It is something that becomes very intuitive after you run it repeatedly, but you do want to dry fire with a sucker because it is different to a downward pressing button or a downward pressing toggle. One of the nicer things is that if you grip your firearm like this to where your left hand index finger comes towards the front of your trigger guard, you can activate the light with that trigger finger or index finger, excuse me, on your support hand side, which is a nice option if you have hands big enough to do that. Now, something I do need to talk to you about with these buttons is, as you can see, I'm pressing it and it doesn't go on every single time. That is like a negligent discharge function. To put this light on, you have to press the button with a degree of authority. If you just flick it or light tap it, that's not, well, most of the times that's not going to work. You've got to press the button properly in order for it to go on and off. That's there to prevent you accidentally flicking the button. As you can see, guys, this firearm is empty and safe, and I know my finger is touching the trigger, but I'm trying to show you something. So I'm sure it's not within the realm of impossibility that if you are wearing gloves, as you put your finger inside the trigger guard area, you could flick that button. And so, as you can see, you got to really press the button with a degree of determination on either end to ensure the light goes on. That's obviously to prevent negligently discharging the weapon light. I'm not a huge fan of momentary on with this light because when I look at my dot, when I put it into momentary on, I can visually see my dot shift over to the right hand side because I'm pressing the front of the firearm over. So I much rather prefer putting it on and then putting it off again when I want the light to go off. The buttons are such that if you are deliberate about it, It's very easy to control. So all lights are momentary on as long as you can switch them off after you put them on. The form factor of this light, guys, I have to be honest, in my opinion, this is the best looking weapon mounted light on the market. If looks mattered, or if looks matters to you, the Inforce Wild 2 is your light. I think this thing looks absolutely the bee's knees. It's got this cool, angular, modern space design type thing going on. It's a very, very attractive looking weapon mounted light. Size wise, it is a bit longer than the TLR1-HL. It's a bit shorter than the Surefire X300. And I suppose in its market, which is where you're going to sort of market this light with regards to Olight, it's about the same size as the Olight Valkyrie Turbo, and it's it's a bit shorter than the Olight Balder Pro R. It is quite a weighty light. It's the heaviest in my opinion. I haven't weighed them, but just by weight of feel in the hand, I think it's heavier than the X300 and TLR1-HL. But I do find, and I could be completely wrong here, right? This is literally me going on something I think I'm feeling. The added weight in the front of the gun almost compensates and helps with recoil control. It could just be my mind playing tricks on me, but it does feel that way. This is certainly the heaviest, in my opinion, of the lights I've had on my firearm before. And like I say, it does feel like that added weight helps bring that slide back down to center. Now guys, the light attaches with a thumb screw, and once on there, I found it stays on there and stays tight. I didn't have a single issue. The screw didn't loosen at all through all the rounds I fired with it, so I've got no problem there. Holster wise, I'm going to talk more about holsters next week, but Alpha Tactics makes a holster for it, but you will have to send them the light. But I'm not going to go into the holster stuff because that's the review I'm doing next week. And then it runs on two CR123A batteries. Some of these Inforce lights had issue with parasitic battery drain. This one hasn't. I'm still using the original batteries, and I don't notice any difference in intensity since I've got the light. So I think Inforce have pretty much sorted that out. Before we get to final thoughts, let's do the Patreon giveaway. Okay guys, so those of you who are familiar with my giveaways will know how this works. This is my list of current active patrons. I'm going to copy this list and paste it in a name randomizer that is going to randomize the order of those names. Paste there. There should be 111 once I click randomize, and 111. So we're good to go. From there, I'm going to take the numbers 1 to 111. I'm going to copy these and paste it into a random wheel of names. So paste that, and if we go to the bottom, just backspace there. 111 entries. I'm going to shuffle them just for the sake of being thorough. Click, and the number this stops on will win that Trauma Kit and Snake Staff Systems EDC TQ. So it is number 90, and 90 in our name randomizer is going to be Hanno Dupree. So Hanno, well done to you. I will make contact with you and hook you up with that Trauma Kit ASAP. Let's switch the view and we can end off. So well done to that patron. I'll be reaching out to you to hook you up with a Trauma Kit. The Inforce Wild 2. What are my final thoughts? Well, in South Africa, this light costs $3,600, and I think what Inforce have done is they've positioned themselves as the best of the rest. Look, let's be realistic. The Surefire X300 and the Streamlight TLR1-HL, in my view, are still the daddies. They are the two best. Now, where does the Inforce Wild 2 come in? Well, it comes in for your budget options. I can appreciate, and I really mean this, I can appreciate that not everyone in South Africa is going to fork out something like 8,000 rand for a Surefire X300 or around 6,000 rand for a Streamlight TLR1-HL. And people do need lights on their firearms, and that's why a lot of people go to Olight, Trustfire, PowerTac, whatever the case may be. I think that Inforce have positioned themselves as the best of those options. For around 3,600 bucks, they're available from Hailstorm in South Africa as well as Wildman or Wildman. I never know if it's English or Afrikaans. I'll leave them linked down below. You are getting a pretty decent piece of kit with a beam and hotspot that I personally think is better than that of the X300. The only downside is the switches. I believe toggles are the way to go. Once you've had toggles, you never really go back to switches. And for me, that is what separates the Surefire and the Streamlight from the Inforce. That's probably why Inforce comes in at that very, very, very reasonable price. So if you wanted my opinion on where in the market this sits, this is in the marketplace or in the market position where someone says, I need a weapon mounted light, but I'm never going to drop 7,000 rand on an X300 or 6,000 rand on a TLR1-HL, but I'm happy to drop half that on something. This is the light you want to be going for. Guys, that is my review of the Inforce Wild 2. I think it's a decent piece of kit. If you are looking for a weapon-mounted light and you are having to work on a particular budget, this is definitely something I recommend you look into. That is it, guys. I will see you. Well done to my Patreon winner, and good luck to all of my other patrons who stand a chance to win that gear. Oh, by the way, lastly about Patreon, I'm pretty sure in the next few months I'm also going to give away an Aimpoint Acro. I've been speaking to Michelle because she handles the finance, and I'm like, I think we're getting close. And then I have a massive giveaway coming up probably towards the end of the year that's going to shock probably the country. So that's going to be exciting. That's it, guys. I'll see you in the week, or I'm doing a live with James on Wednesday. So I'll see you then, and then I'll see you on the weekend for another review. Have a good week. Be safe. Train hard. Cheers. God bless.